Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and today I will be reviewing Apollo 13. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. NASA must devise a strategy to return Apollo 13 to Earth safely after the spacecraft undergoes massive internal damage, putting the lives of the 3 astronauts on board in jeopardy. So let's begin with my first pro. We got star power to the max in this film. We have Kevin Bacon, Tom Hanks, the late Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Joe Spano, and a fun cameo that many might not know. Jim Lovell, the person that Tom Hanks plays in the film, once the Apollo crew is taken on board the USS Iwo Jima, when Tom Hanks playing Jim actually shakes the hand of the captain of the ship, that's Jim in real life. So it's Jim shaking Jim's hand. It's really nice that they asked him to be in the film, and he actually wore his old Navy captain's uniform when he did his cameo. But all these actors, when you rewatch the film, you're like, look, it's that guy, look, it's him, look, it's that other guy. You know them from other famous films. And also they do a great job in this movie. Next point, this movie is great for people who are learning about space or the space program or the space missions. This can be a supplement in the classroom for learning material. So after reading about the missions, you can actually watch the film to get a better understanding. For those people who are visual learners, this is a good film for them to watch and bring everything together. But just as long as they understand that some things might not be that accurate in the film, but overall the facts are there. But this is not the only movie that takes on space missions. There are other films and some that are actually documentaries that go more into details about the missions. But I still consider this one a captivating film for audience that adds a little more to the learning experience. Especially since Tom Hanks himself is a space program buff, it makes it even a better learning experience. Next point, the way they filmed the zero gravity scenes. When you hear about it in the commentary or look it up, it's amazing that they went through all that just to get really close to perfect versus just using special effects. I mean, using the NASA plane, aka Vomit Comet, to be able to record segments of 20 seconds of zero gravity, like how much stamina does the cast and crew have to endure 13 days of doing those flights? I mean, they don't call it the Vomit Comet for nothing. Also, it was great that NASA helped Ron Howard, the director, to gain access to these things that otherwise would be impossible for a director to obtain, especially since they actually used the real NASA crawler moving Apollo 13 from one spot to the other in the film. And fun fact, Ron actually drove it. Imagine being a director and having NASA say, sure, you can play with our toys. I bet that Ron Howard was living the life of a small kid who just wanted to play with cool NASA stuff. Now, if you think about it, there's kids in school who learn about astronauts and everything, and if they watch the movie and then they learn about behind the scenes knowledge of how Ron got to play with all these things or got access to these, it would probably make some kids jealous or make them want to become movie directors versus astronauts. But that's up to them. Next point, the way the film showed the disaster. As a kid, when I watched it for the first time, I was like, okay, something went bad, so now they are in trouble, and I just kept watching, but I never questioned anything much further than that. Later in high school, when I had to rewatch the movie for a class project, I was like, wait, there was more than just an oops, we have a problem. Now that I rewatched it, everything started to click again and make the story more amazing for me to learn about these small details that went wrong. So what I'm trying to say is the story captivates people at different ages in different ways, which is a good thing. That's what you want a film to do, be able to capture a wide range of target audience, and this film does it. Now, moving on to my cons. The big con would be if you want to rely on this film as a one-to-one learning material or base it as real-time based events, then this is not the movie that you're looking for. If you're looking for inaccuracies, then yeah, this film has quite a few. They have items that neither were made in those times or have scenes that they change when the angle changes. For example, in one scene there might be something in frame and then another second it might not appear there. So inaccuracies here and there. For one example, when the astronauts are flying over the dark side of the moon and lose communication with Houston, they are looking at the moon and pointing out things such as that's the landing site we were going to hit, or look at over there, that's that part, or this. And in reality, they would not be able to see that part of the surface they're talking about when they're traveling around the dark side of the moon. So the movie is showing something that either didn't happen at that time, but maybe happened at different times during the mission. But if a student was making a presentation for a class and was using the movie as a reference material, they would be getting information that was wrong from the film. But yeah, this film gives the basics, but remember, some information might not be as accurate as you think it is. Next con would be how the movie felt it wanted to place more of a family vibe into the story, such as Jim's daughter and his wife, but then they forgot to give them more time to show the reaction of Jim's situation until the capsule was re-entering. It would have been nice if we saw the daughter go from being upset about the Beatles to being worried with her mother about Jim, her dad, or just have Jim's and his wife's point of view switch during the launch and the initial accident and maybe the re-entry sequence. Have one point of view from the astronaut's point and then somebody down on Earth looking up, just to get us to feel different things for the character. Also, why show Mary Hayes, the wife of one of the astronauts, during the launch and then forget about her until the end for a split second? In this case, why not just take them out and focus on the astronauts? I get the reason they wanted to include them was to add a human interest on Earth based around the family members, but if you're not going to give them the time to develop the connection between the audience, then just forget about it. I was more interested in how they solved the problems in the space capsule and how they would get home safely. I'm not saying that it was a bad idea to include them, I'm just saying that they needed to develop more of them so we can care more about their side of the story. So my grade for this movie is going to be an 8 out of 10. The fact that we learned about this event in class from a textbook, but then we are able to watch a movie, not a documentary, making it more fast-paced and action-packed, means people will be watching and getting something out of it. But the idea that there are parts that might not be as accurate as the real thing is the reason this is a movie and not a documentary-based film. The actors are great. Tom did a great job portraying Jim Lovell, and this will be a great film to suggest to people who are interested in the space program missions, with a slight warning that not everything in the film is historically accurate. So that does it for this review of Apollo 13. Please join us next time where we're going to review 12 Angry Men from 1957.
Do you really think the boy'd shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear him? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Bright? He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.